Back again on Cuse TV. Brian Higgins, Coach Shafer, and fresh off the presses in my hand, Shafer, right now is our post-spring football depth chart, sort of to set the table for summer and the competition to come before this fall. What's it like just to get this down, to let guys know sort of where they're at and where they need to go before this next season starts?
Well, as you know, I always felt like the depth chart was nothing more than a starting point, and that's why it's all done in pencil with an eraser on the other end. So, you know, there's going to be change agents, and you know, our biggest goal or our biggest target is to try to find, you know, not just the top 11 players on either side of the ball, but a group of 13, 14, 15 guys that give us a chance to win and utilize all the weapons that we have at our disposal. So, you know, it's a good starting point, but it's just that.
Let's sort of hit this now position by position. We'll start where it so often does at quarterback, and it's always good to see Terrell Hunt's name back atop that list.
It is, and Terrell, you know, I know he's so excited about this upcoming season. Right now he's with quarterback guru George Whitfield, working out, getting a weekend before we really get, you know, get our off-season program going here. But it was great to have him back on the field. I know the players were happy to have him back. The legs in good shape. He looked good. He was moving around well, and you know, I just look forward to seeing him back on that field when we open up against Rhode Island.
And getting into the skill position groups, we look at running back with Devontae McFarland and George Morris. How does that play in with what you're planning to do, and Steve Ishmael and Alvin Cornelius top the wide receiver list right now?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think you know, I think we have two running backs, and Devontae and George that have good skill sets and give us a chance to do some different things with them. The wide receiver position. You know, not only Brisley Esteem, but Alvin Cornelius, those two guys I think are postured to have a good season. Jamal Custis did you know, a very good job learning the playbook, playing more consistently, and growing into a receiver that gives us an opportunity to throw it up to him. He's a big 6'6" kid that can go up and get it. And I was really pleased with Steve Ishmael and Sean Avant. The one guy that probably had the best spring as far as consistency was Alvin Cornelius. He really did, and he was probably a kid that jumped up more than anybody as far as improvement is concerned.
One guy we talked about going into spring was at the H-back spot, where you look at Irv Phillips, sort of sliding him over from running back, and we know he's a guy that can both run and catch the ball for you.
Yeah, if you were to just put it on a piece of paper, you really don't see what that position is. And we won't show those things until we get into the season, but Irv Phillips, Ben Lewis, Ashton Boyle are three guys that will play this H-back position. It's a hybrid position. And the reason we call it a hybrid is because we do a lot of things with them. So Irv can line up in the backfield and run the ball. We can move Ben Lewis out to the slot receiver, or he could be running the ball. Ashton Boyle could line up anywhere on the field. It gives us, you know, the ability to manage the situations that come up throughout the course of a game without truly changing your personnel grouping. As a defensive coach in the past, you always wanted to know what the personnel grouping was. When you weren't sure where they would line up a particular athlete, it made your job harder, and that's the goal in having this type of a system.
We learned more than ever last season how important it is to have a consistent offensive line. Unfortunately, injuries really hurt that group last season. So when we look at this, we see a lot of familiar names because so many people got time. Let's take it left to right. Ivan Foy, Nick Robinson, Rob Trudeau. A new guy in the mix is Aaron Roberts, and then Omari Palmer, at least the group slated there right now.
Sure, a lot of those names we're familiar with because they played a lot of football for us. You know, you shuffle interior guys around a little bit. Guys need to be able to play guard and center, and tackles need to be able to flip-flop on either side, and that's what you have right there. The one name that's a little bit new that the fans will be interested in seeing his develop is Aaron Roberts, as you mentioned. He's a tough kid out of Chicago that we put a red shirt on last year, and he had a great off-season. And the one thing he brings to the table is he's a very physical, tough guy. He likes to drive people, and he's got a little nasty to him. So I think adding him to that group is big. And I'm interested to see how they all compete once we get into fall camp.
All right, Shafe, let's literally turn the page now here to defense and sort of work front to back here, starting with the defensive line. Lost some guys really all across the defense, a lot of guys to replace. Eric Kroom, Robert Welsh, among others gone. What stands out about this group? We see Donnie Simmons, Caton Samuels, John Raymond, and Ron Thompson, the leaders to start right now.
Sure. Well, you know, a few of those kids you just mentioned, we've seen play football. Ron Thompson last year was a guy that we moved inside and outside because of injuries. And he did a great job of patching holes when we had to slide him down to a 3 technique or a tackle that lines up on the outside shade of a guard. But his true position, his natural position, is to play on the edge. He did that this spring, and he had a very good spring. We know Johnny Raymond back, healthy, doing a good job. Wayne Williams, but the guy that probably had the best spring, not unlike Alvin Cornelius on offense, was this Caton Samuels. This young man is a young man that just quietly goes to work. He reminds me of a Jason Bromley with regards to his work ethic. And I was really pleased at his consistency to play with very good leverage, use his hands, and really be a force inside. You know, the other kid that kind of can get lost in the conversation is this Chris Slayton. Young man we recruited to be a defensive end, but we knew his body could turn into a defensive tackle, and that happened overnight. He's one of our stronger kids up front. So we have 2 young guys with 4 years of eligibility in front of them that'll add to the mix of a John Raymond and a Wayne Williams. So I feel good about that. And then on the outside, like you mentioned, we've lost some very good football players from last year's roster. But we moved Luke Arcenegia down to defensive end, and it's a natural. He does some really good things, was really pleased with his improvement. Donnie Simmons has become a more consistent player. He's excited for his senior season. And as I mentioned before, I think Ron Thompson can be a very good defensive end here.
Let's go to linebackers now. Obviously, you lost Cam Lynch and Dyshawn Davis, and that's big. The good thing, though, is there's a lot of guys that had experience, especially Zaire Franklin and Marquise Hodge. Played a lot of football for you last year, and Paris Bennett ready to go, too.
That's right. Well, with the injury situation we had when Marquise Hodge went down with the knee, we had to really look at where we were and who had the personality type to take charge out there. And lo and behold, Zaire Franklin, he stepped right up. You wouldn't have thought that he was a freshman. And I'm not talking about his play. There's consistencies that need to be developed, but the way he took it on, his natural command as a person, fit perfectly. So when we went into spring ball, rather than having Hodge and Franklin dueling in the middle, we said, let's get them both on the football field. So put Zaire in the middle. He's a natural. He's a great tackle-to-tackle middle linebacker that can get downhill, scrape, and play with that physicality needed in the 4-3 defense. And Hodge did a great job playing outside linebacker into the boundary. He's moving well, and you never know that he had any injury. And then when we go to the open side, where you have guys that need to have extreme athleticism, guys that are really linebackers / strong safety type skill sets, I was impressed with the competition we had with Bennett, Thomas, and Vigil. You know, Ollie's been around for a long time. He's in grad school now. He was always on the bubble. He's trying to fight to get more playing time. But Bennett and Thomas are 2 young guys that I think have a very good future in front of them. And that group will be added to when we get these young freshmen in here. And you know, I think it'll be key that group just continues to develop as a group. And Coach Bolo will do a good job changing up what we're doing and putting those guys in positions to make plays.
Lastly, on defense, the secondary lost a ton with the 3 starters from last year. And just looking at the depth chart right now, it seems there's still a lot to be decided there. And we know you're going to play a lot of guys at the back end.
Yeah, the good thing about this group is they're all football IQ guys that understand the game. I've really enjoyed watching this group compete. Really enjoyed coaching them up in the meeting space. They're guys that love football, a bright group for a secondary. You know, if you look at their academics, this is a group of kids that are smart, and not just football IQ, but off the field. And that goes a long way. The know-how of playing in the secondary. They got no one behind them. You know, the D-line have the linebackers to back them up. The backers have the secondary to back them up. All these guys have is the end line, the end zone, and the goal line. So you want bright guys that can put themselves in a position to make plays and do a good job with our checks and adjustments. And I think we got a great group of guys, a lot of pencil marks in there because I could see us playing a lot of guys in the secondary this year, but was pleased. You know, a guy like Corey Winfield's a guy that was trying to find a home. He had a good spring. Really excited about this Cordell Hudson and Jawan Dowles. These guys made a lot of interceptions during the spring campaign. And I think they put some added competitiveness to Wiggum and not only Winfield but Morgan. So a good group, and I think it'll be added to when we get this freshman group in here.
All right, one more page turn here, Shafe, to the specialists, and whatever you can bring back your kicker and your puncher and Cole Murphy and Riley Dixon, who both had excellent seasons. You got to feel good.
Yeah, I think we have two talented guys right there. You know, field position will be key for us as we go into this season. You know, Riley can change the game with field position. He's done some great things, not only you know, punting the ball from a traditional type of situation, but also pinning the ball inside the 15, the 10-yard line. And, you know, Murphy, Norton, we have some experience with those two, and I'm looking forward to this Hofrichter kid coming in too. He's a competitive kid, and he's got a great leg.
And last thing, as we stand here at the end of May, you sort of have to turn everybody loose here until fall camp starts, summer camp at the beginning of August. What do you want to see from your guys as they're working on their own until you get your hands back on them again?
Well, strength and conditioning programs, you know, they're already at it. You know, we have basically 2 weeks here where they're totally on their own, and then we'll get into our schedule. We have basically an eight-week period where we work with them without a football. We're allowed to do drill work with them. We're allowed to do, you know, just skill set movement things with them. So we'll be able to, you know, get a feel for where they are. A great group of kids. They posted our highest GPA ever as a team. Our freshman class did the same, highest freshman GPA. I think we got a smart football team and a group that's excited to get back on the field and right the ship this season.
All right, Shafe, the depth chart, as always, subject to change. Thanks for breaking it down, and we'll take a look at it again come August.